What's up guys, OG Jedi here, and I'll be giving you my overall thoughts and opinions on Power Rangers Dino Charge and Dino Supercharge. So I guess to start off with is Tyler the Red Ranger. Overall, a really great Ranger. I am pleased with what the actor did with him. Actually felt his determination to find his father, which was pretty much his overall singular arc throughout Dino Charge, which came full circle when he found him in Dino Supercharge. Spoiler if you guys haven't seen it. And I feel that vast improvement over the Megaforce Ranger, where I just felt that entire series as bland. And second up, Riley the Green Ranger. I liked him as a Green Ranger. Farm boy, born life, moves to the city, becomes a Power Ranger. I think it was done a couple times, but I liked it for what it was. There wasn't really much of an arc with Riley. At least anything memorable. Main thing I remember was his there was an episode dedicated to him facing his bully at a triathlon. They become friends at the end. Good singular episode focused on him. I liked it for what it was. Yeah, it was good episode showcasing him and his talents. And then we move to Koda the Blue Ranger. A caveman out of time, learning the ways of the future, but still not fully grasping it. I liked it. He was pretty much the comedic element of this show. Nothing wrong with that. I actually liked his comedic elements. Him learning, but him not understanding things fully, and his heartbreak of knowing that all of his family's gone, but his new family of the Power Rangers he always has with him, which is something good, it's a nice little message of, wherever you go, you have your old blood family, but then, you find new people, you find friends who are your new family, who aren't meant to replace the old, but you have them as your moral support and backup. And that's something I liked with Koda. Liked him as a Blue Ranger. Liked the actor playing him. Did good job. Then we move to Chase the Black Ranger. I loved him. Great Black Ranger. Athletic, soccer. He had a girlfriend. She wasn't in every episode. That was fine though. But I do like that she wasn't a throwaway. They had a couple episodes dedicated to it just to remind you that he has a girlfriend, so, personal life outside of being a Power Ranger. There was an anniversary episode he had with her, which I liked. So pretty much, overall good Ranger. He served the purpose he was supposed to serve. No issues. Great Black Ranger. Then we move to Shelby. Tough, fierce, and then her rivalry, per se, that she had with Kendall near the beginning. I liked it. I'll talk more about Kendall's side, but just Shelby just trying to prove herself as a Pink Ranger to Kendall, because Kendall not thinking that she has it in her to be a Ranger, but out of all of the Rangers, she was the most knowledgeable about dinosaurs, specifically being the Triceratops. Well, of course, because the Pink Ranger Zord is the Triceratops. But I like that, Pink Ranger girl, smart, knowledgeable about the theme and subject of which the team was based around. So that was great. And she served the purpose as the only female Ranger up to a certain point until we got the Purple Ranger. So I liked her. Then we moved to Ivan the Gold Ranger, another man out of time. He fought Fury back in the olden days of the Knights. He was sucked into Fury's body. So, he comes present day. He was able to free himself from Fury, becomes the Gold Ranger. Great Gold Ranger. I love the proper suave that he brought, because he is a knight, and so he has a standard to uphold, and he never lost that. They never tried to make him change how he spoke. That's just how he was. That was his character. I like that. They just gave him a little makeover with the long trench coat thing, which I loved. I want a coat like that. So overall, Green Ranger, the part he played was good. No issues with the Gold Ranger whatsoever. Then we move to Kendall Morgan, Miss Morgan, the Purple Ranger, who we initially had. The Purple Ranger was a random guy that ended up finding it while he saved a girl on a mountain, and then he used the powers to just keep his little town safe, which is something new and fresh to the Power Rangers. I mean, typically they are overall they're just part of the team, and then they are working to keep the whole planet safe, which is in reality just their city. But it showed a guy who got these extraordinary powers, but didn't. He wasn't advertising them, like he wasn't trying to put himself out there and meet up with the other Rangers. He was like, "Yeah, I'm just stopping purse snatchers." Then once he saw that, you've got these actual aliens out here who's trying to do some serious damage, he's like, "Okay, this is too much for me. I'm old as it is. I'm gonna get a heart attack from this." So he hands off the purple energem to the Rangers, and then Kendall gets it in the season finale of Dino Charge. So I liked it. And then I liked how she was given her chance to shine in spotlight, because before she was a Ranger, it was similar to Cam in Ninja Storm, where she wanted to be a Ranger and she was jealous of Shelby because she was picked over her, and she's like, I'm the one who's been helping keep her for however long she's been helping her. Why I wasn't chosen was beyond me, but she got her chance to shine, so that jealousy went away from her and Shelby. That rivalry was over, and she proved that she could fight, which I like. I like when they give new people powers who they don't have to be mainstay characters that we already know, but showing that they are someone who can fight, who can handle themselves, is a great thing to have prior to having the Ranger powers, because then it amplifies that. I mean, of course, you don't have to always be a kung fu master, because you have training, but just to see that she could handle herself. So when the journey to getting those powers happens, it's satisfaction. And that's what I liked, and I liked her as the Purple Ranger. Then we come to the Aqua Ranger, who was Tyler's long lost father, James, who, he was trapped. He was trapped in a cave. The Aqua Energem kept him from aging, which is why he still looked like he's like 4 years older than his own son. No issues. Great Aqua Ranger. That's pretty much all I can say about him, because there was rarely any screen time with him. He showed up in Dino Supercharge, 20 episodes of that, but he showed up in around the 5th episode. I'd say, if I can remember, he's only been in about 4 or 5 episodes. And so, not much to go off of, so I couldn't really give a full, in-depth analysis past he was a good Ranger and this is where he came from. Similar to with Prince Philip. Prince Philip came from the line of princes that the Gold Ranger Ivan was protecting. He protected Prince Philip's, I believe it was great-grandfather. And so Prince Philip was also a catalyst for the Gold Energem and Ivan to get freed. And Prince Philip, being a prince, being rich, his resources, he wanted to be a ranger, so he had his helpers. He piloted a team of excavationists to find the graphite energem, which they did. But what I liked in that episode is that, of course, throughout the theme of the entire season, the energem chooses the ranger. So even though they found the energem for him, he tries to morph and do all these things. He can't, and so he has to prove that he's worthy, and then he does all of these deeds. He donates, gives people presents, helps old ladies across the street, that kind of thing, but he's still not proven because he's doing it to do it. there hasn't been a moment yet that he just genuinely did something because it was the right thing to do, which later on in the episode happens, and then he's granted the ability to use the Energem. But past that, he's only used in a few episodes as well, just like the Aqua Ranger. Footage is one reason that these guys are rarely used. If America, I guess, could make some original footage, but they didn't, so we get what we get. His excuse for leaving was it was an understandable one. He's a prince. He has to make sure his own kingdom's up and running. But if they need him, call him. I mean, there's almost 10 of them, so there's not needed much. I mean, there's pretty much 7 of them just on the scene with the gold and purple ranger. They're always there. So, I mean, you needing 2 extra rangers, it's not always needed, but you know, his write-off from the most episodes, it's understandable. And with Tyler's father, his reason for leaving, he's gonna find Sledge's or ship and all of this. Then we have the final ranger, Zenowing, the Silver Ranger, who the Dark Energem, he came into contact with it, which caused an evil version of him to fully take over, and because he had the Silver Energem, his evil version could use it, and so there was a little scuffle between the Silver Ranger and the other Rangers until they were able to free Zenowing. Zenowing initially was a lone fighter. He had this super sword move that was pretty tough. Riley wanted to learn it. Zenowing says no. He eventually learns to work in tandem with the Rangers, so he teaches Riley the move. They use it. He becomes their ally. Only a couple episodes though, so again, can't really give much on him, but Silver Ranger was nice. And then we move to their mentor, Keeper. Keeper, an alien who entrusted dinosaurs when he crash landed in the prehistoric period with these energems that corresponded to the Rangers' animals. And then when we get him, he's like a Yoda type character. He can fight when he needs to, which he has fought a couple times, but he's mostly there to give wisdom, and that's pretty much all he's there for, just to be there and give wisdom. I'm not gonna knock him for that, because he can fight and he has a physical form, unlike say Zordon. I would like to have seen him fight more, just because. Maybe have I had speculated, along with a couple other fans have speculated, that he might become the Silver Ranger. Didn't end up happening. Overall, he was okay. Kind of, unless, at least in my opinion, if he wasn't there, you kind of forgot about him, which is unfortunate, but that's just how it was. He just kind of forget. He wasn't a forgettable all the way, but just he wasn't there. It's like, oh, I forgot you were here, kind of thing, until he shows up. So that's how I felt about Keeper, at least. Now on to their Zords. I personally like their Zord concept, where you have the Red Ranger's, Tyler's, his T-Rex is pretty much the body, and then you had other Ranger Zords which just acted for the arms, so you could interchange, and it gave you that opportunity to try different combinations. And it was also useful in the fact that if other Rangers were not available due to them being out of action currently, or they were busy doing personal life stuff and they couldn't get away, or they were just doing another mission somewhere across and they couldn't use their Zords, well, you only need the Red Ranger, and then you could use anyone else's Zords and they become arms. So that was a nice little addition. And then in the similar vein of Ivan, as every other Special Ranger, he had his own Zord, his Pterodactyl. It formed its own Zord all on its own. The Purple Rangers, the Silver Rangers, all their Zords similar. They're extra auxiliary swords that were used as bodily parts, or another head, or maybe another torso, but not needed. So overall, good design. The Ultra Zord I really loved, but also all Zords that come together to form the giant, almost nearly unstoppable Zord. They all look awesome. So props to the Zords. No issues there. Then we move to the villains. In Dino Charge, it was Sledge and Poisandra, and then they had a couple side generals. Poisandra was just not annoying per se, but she didn't really serve a purpose. I mean, she had a couple episodes where she sent a monster down to defeat the Rangers, or she would go down and cause trouble. But I feel her main purpose was to just hound about being married, and I think that kind of took away from Sledge's edginess or any chance of him being super threatening, because he had that soft side for Poisandra, which is not a bad thing, but just the way it was done, I kind of just didn't have a full-on fear of him. There are ways to do it to which the villain can still be menacing, but the way it was done, I just didn't get the menacing feeling from him. Now, for the other villain, Heckle and Snide, it was a take on Bonnie and Clyde kind of thing, the namesake. So we have Heckle, who was this guy, turns out to be this protector of his planet Sentai 6, which, if you guys don't know, Super Sentai is the original, is where Power Rangers comes from. Power Rangers is adapted from Super Sentai all the way back to Mighty Morphin, but Super Sentai has been around for, I think, almost 50 years, 45 years. So that was a nice little nod if like people didn't get that. So the Dark Inner Gem comes into play again, same as with Xenowing. Sledge forces Heckle to come into contact with the Dark Inner Gem, which is what he was guarding when he was on Sentai 6. He comes into contact with the Dark Inner Gem and turns him into Snide, and that causes Snide to be his general, but during the season he was a prisoner of Sledge until Sledge was seemingly destroyed, and then he took over. So what would happen with this duality is that each form would be the main one for a certain period of time, and then they would switch, but they can talk to each other. So it's not a thing where like Mesogog and Dino Charge, where you have one, they know about each other, but and they each want each other destroyed. In the case of Heckle and Snide, initially they both were evil, so Heckle would be the smart, calculated one who would have this plan, but then when Heckle takes over, he was more rash, and he says, screw what Heckle said, I'm gonna do this my way, and would typically end up causing the plan to fail and backfire. Then Heckle would yell at Snide, and Snide would be like, oh, your plan was gonna fail anyway, I had a better one, even though it didn't work. So I like that dynamic, but then Heckle eventually saw the error of his ways, became good. I would have really liked it if they used the Talon Ranger, which they didn't use at all because of film rights that they didn't have for Japan's Talon Ranger. But if they did, I would have liked the Talon Ranger to have been used, and odds are it would have been Heckle. But because it wasn't used, unfortunately, it didn't happen. Even if it was just a one-off for the last episode or two. But unfortunately, we didn't get it, so the use of the Dark Inner Gem, aside from no Talon Rangers, the use of it was a good use. You know, it's evil, so it brought out pretty much the evil side of whoever was holding it, and it would have that duality of yourself and then your evil side that does whatever it wants. And in some cases, such as Xenowing, his evil side, which I believe was called Darkwing, that form was more prevalent than Xenowing. So I guess an over prolonged period of time, or probably because Xenowing and Darkwing were literally good and evil, they weren't working in tandem, so Darkwing was probably overpowering Xenowing to stay as Darkwing more, so which is why it was like that. So overall, it was a good season. The main downside was that past Kindle, the other Rangers, the Aqua, Graphite, and Silver, it was barely any screen time with them, which is unfortunate. I mean, you have 10 Rangers. It's a monumental feat. It's 10 Rangers simultaneously in one team. We don't see them much, so that was a bummer there. But the other Rangers, their showcases were nice. They all had some kind of storyline or something that and put them together, and then they had their own thing solo. A good storyline that they had throughout the season was the love relationship between Shelby and Troy. Tyler. One thing I loved about this, opposed to other love stories between other Rangers in different seasons, is that they both share this affection, of course, and then it was addressed a little late. Well, it depends on when it was fully brought to the screen, because there was something at the end of the season one of the first season of Dino Charge, and then it played out throughout Dino Supercharge. So they were aware of it, and I think they were together. They didn't never said it. They never said I love you. They never kissed. They kissed a couple times or wanted to, but then would be blocked by Coda. So the relationship was there, and it was shown, and it wasn't just like a last minute I love you thing in the last episode for the last 3 minutes. So that's one thing I really liked. Villains, a nice showcase of villains. My favorite, of course, is the Heckle and Snide, but mostly Snide. But I did like Heckle and his blue hair streak he had going on. But the Heckle and Snide villains were great villains. In the first episode of Dino Supercharge, Heckle was able to successfully infiltrate their base because he had formed this relationship with them before they found out he was evil, or they found out he was Snide. So he was able to infiltrate their base and able to grab their energems. Plan, of course, ultimately failed, but the fact that he got that far, he was within finger length's reach of those energems, was something great, and it really set the bar for what the characters of Heckle and Snide could do going out throughout the rest of the season. So overall, I feel that Dino Charge was a good season, and the only gripes I really have with it is that you have 10 Rangers, but there was a lack of showcasing for about 3 of them. And footage constraints, whatever. I mean, original footage can be made, has been done before, but it didn't. So, fortunately, we couldn't get more of those Rangers, because it would have been interesting to see more of those 10 Ranger team-ups, or more of those, Rangers helping out, even if it's not the entire team. And a good showcase of villains. I love the designs of a good portion of them. Heckle and Snide being my favorite villains, and that whole duality thing was great. I loved how Heckle had a plan, Snide had his own plan. They clashed. That was good to see. So even villains that are as intertwined as them, still have disillusions and their own agendas, even though they share a conscience, I guess, if you want to put it that way. But yeah, that's all I have to say about Dino Charge. Great season. Looking forward to Ninja Steel. And I'm out.